Hashtag I'm pretending to have amnesia. I have amnesia but I'm faking it. After being Chin Tion's casual fling for 7 years, all I got in the end was, "You're good for fun, not for marriage." How humiliating. But when I walked into the hall on another man's arm, Chin Tion regretted it. He kidnapped me from my wedding, his eyes red as he begged. Ruan, please play with me for a lifetime, okay? Hashtag 1. I never expected to run into Chin Tion at the cocktail party so soon. It had been only a month since that night when we broke up. I'm sorry, and you are. I had just finished a hot, close dance with my handsome partner when Chin Tion blocked my path at the most remote table in the corner. Blinking with confused eyes, I thought I could play the amnesia role quite convincingly. Chin Tion didn't speak. His gaze was deep and dark, carrying the fire of displeasure. His eyes swept over my exposed, smooth back, and the heated stares from men around us. Then, he took off his suit jacket, draped it over my shoulders, and gently pulled me into his embrace. The elegant fragrance on his body was still the familiar imagination, warmed by his body heat, lingering at the tip of my nose. He used his body to block others' line of sight. His thin lips approached my ear, coaxing in a deep, magnetic voice. "Look at you, Ruan, able to ignore me for a whole month. You're really angry. Come on, my place or a hotel." "Sir," I shrank my shoulders in resistance, my eyes flustered, hurriedly breaking free from his arms. "Please show some respect." Chin Tion frowned, staring at me with increasing displeasure. "Jiang Ruan." Chin Tion rarely called me by my full name. When he did, it meant he was angry, it meant I should lower my head, I should yield. But I was no longer the Jiang Ruan who was singularly focused on making him marry me. Now I am Jiang, pretending to have amnesia after the car accident. Ruan. "I'm sorry, sir." I stepped back again, widening the distance between Chin Tion and me. I looked around in confusion and panic for my childhood friend Lian Yizhou, while politely asking, "Did we know each other before?" Chin Tion's expression turned impatient, seemingly annoyed by my disobedience. "Jiang Ruan, stop acting. Stop acting." Those 2 short words made my heart tremble. That night, when I had a hysterical breakdown and ended things in Chin Tion's eyes, was I just being dramatic? I almost couldn't maintain my composure. Thank heavens, the unreliable Lian Yizhou finally appeared at the crucial moment, before I could give myself away. "Excuse me, Mr. Chin." Lian Yizhou, dressed in a white suit, stood in front of me, using his tall figure to shield me. "My fiancée was in a car accident recently that affected her memory. She's still undergoing rehabilitation therapy. It's normal that she doesn't recognize you, Mr. Chin." Chin Tion's eyes suddenly contracted, looking at me in disbelief. His thin lips parted, asking 3 words as if seeking confirmation, "Your fiancé." I paused. I thought Chin Tion's shock would focus on my amnesia. Actually, I didn't pretend to have amnesia on purpose. It's just that when I woke up in the hospital, facing my parents' concerned eyes, seeing how they had stayed up until their eyes were red with worry, I just couldn't say, "Mom, Dad, I was someone's casual fling for 7 years, but he doesn't want to marry me." So I simply took advantage of the car accident, pretending to have forgotten everything, to start afresh. Fortunately, I really did suffer a severe concussion, so something as far-fetched as memory loss actually fell within the reasonable realm of medical conditions. Even if Chin Tion were to investigate now, he would definitely find my medical records and the rehabilitation therapy records from the past month. Mr. Chin. I peeked out from behind Lian Yizhou, bit my lip, with clear confusion in my eyes. "Why did you say you wanted to take me to a hotel just now? Are we that kind of relationship? But I've never heard my parents mention you." Hashtag 2. I deliberately challenged Chin Tion with these questions, because he couldn't answer either of them. Chin Tion had an extremely cold personality and was famously difficult to win over in social circles. For over 20 years, no one had ever heard of him being interested in any woman. But I still fell for him. Love at first sight, my first love, then shamelessly pursuing him, finally succeeding in winning him over, taking him to a hotel. For 7 years, we engaged in all the intimate acts lovers could share. Yet we never went public with our relationship. I thought he was like me, simply concerned about our family backgrounds, waiting until things were stable before going public. But when I finally prepared myself, feeling we could take a step further, and actively proposed to Chin Tion. In the candlelight, Chin Tion revealed an extremely surprised and troubled expression. "I thought we were just mutually beneficial. I misled you, I'm sorry. I'm already preparing to get engaged to someone my parents have chosen for me." Ruan, you're only good for fun, not for marriage." Good for fun. Where was his mind? 7 years, me, a Jiang family daughter, available whenever he called, rain or shine, could that just be for fun? Am I that cheap? If he never planned to marry me, why accept my confession? Was the word rejection foreign to him? So my initial pursuit in Chin Tion's eyes was just begging for the position of a bedmate. Who does he think he is? The king of the universe? That night we had a huge fight. I resolutely broke up with him, packed all my belongings, and drove away. On the road, tears flooded, blurring my vision, which led to the car accident. That kind of relationship. Chin Tian pondered these 4 words, scrutinizing me continuously, as if trying to find any trace that I was faking amnesia. I forced myself to look at him with bewilderment, my heart beating faster and faster, my fingers unconsciously gripping Lian Yizhou's arm tightly. After a while, Chin Tian gave up. With a stiff smile, he said, "No, we are friends. I upset you before and wanted to take you to a hotel or my place for dinner to apologize." Fine, at least he could cover his tracks. Oh, I see. I pretended to breathe a sigh of relief, coming out from behind Lian Yizhou, affectionately holding his arm, leaning on him coquettishly. "You scared me. I thought I was some improper girl before." Lian Yizhou, the only one who knew I was faking amnesia, played along well, lovingly tapping the tip of my nose. "How could that be? My Ruan is the best girl. You too." Chin Tian's gaze fixed on the diamond ring on my hand that was holding Lian Yizhou's arm, his smile very dry. "When did you get engaged?" After 7 years of entanglement, I knew Chin Tian too well. When he asked that last question, he unconsciously tugged at his tie. This was his small gesture when he felt anxious and displeased. I think it must be a man's possessiveness. After all, I was completely faithful during my time with him, and now just a month after breaking up, I suddenly became someone else's fiancé. Even someone like Chin Tian, who actively discarded me, couldn't escape this common feeling. Oddly enough, Lian Yizhou acted as if he didn't sense the danger, and responded with a gentle smile. 2 weeks ago, Ruan's car accident really frightened me. We did it right after she was discharged from the hospital. We're getting married in a month. If you're free, Mr. Chin, I can send you an invitation. Chin Tian didn't respond, his profound gaze still fixed on me, his fists clenched at his sides. The calm before the fury. My heart tightened, but on the surface, I feigned sudden realization. "Mr. Chin, are you still concerned about what happened before?" "It's all right. Although I don't know what you did to make me angry, I've lost my memory, so past grievances should naturally be wiped clean. Don't worry about it. We'd be very happy to have you attend our wedding." After saying this, I deliberately covered my mouth with a coquettish laugh. Surely Mr. Chin didn't do something terrible to me, did he? My words about wiping the slate clean were genuine. Chin Tian's phrase, "good for fun," had cut me to the bone, penetrating to the marrow. It remains clearly etched in my memory, painful to touch, humiliating. I'd thought about revenge too. Why should I be the only one suffering in agony while he could be so nonchalant? Why could he stand high above and treat someone's pursuit as lowly begging? But after peeling away all the pain, resentment and grievances, I only reached an utterly powerless conclusion. He doesn't love me. A person who doesn't love has no vulnerability. Taking revenge on him would only make me suffer more. Moreover, it was also my own fault for being blind and dull, single-mindedly pouring myself out, unable to perceive that I had already been looked down upon to the point of dust. I deserved the punishment. So I truly wanted to use this amnesia to reconcile with Chin Tian, to reconcile with the former me who loved without return, who was foolish and cheap. For future weddings and funerals, we would be like strangers, with no further entanglements. Having said all I needed to say, I held Lian Yizhou tightly and smiled at Chin Tian. "Mr. Chin, then we'll..." "What if I did?" Chin Tian suddenly spoke up. I was confused. "Did what? What if I really did do something very terrible to you?" #3. Me? Is this something Chin, meticulous in everything Tian would say? "Ah, that's fine too. I've forgotten everything anyway." After saying this, fearing Chin Tian might say something even more outrageous, I hurriedly walked away with Lian Yizhou. Lian Yizhou slightly curved his lips, walking beside me while leaning in slightly, whispering, "I can feel it, he's still staring." Me. "Stop being reckless, let's go quickly." On the rooftop of the venue, Lian Yizhou checked that no one was around, then, while locking the door, excitedly muttered to himself. "Seeing this, Chin Tian does still have feelings for you. Are you sure you don't want to use this chance to reel him in? Create a passionate amnesia drama?" I swept the hair off my neck, feeling the evening breeze, my head much clearer now. I tilted my head and rolled my eyes at Lian Yizhou. "You need to stop reading so many novels." Lian Yizhou is my childhood friend who always lived by the philosophy of playing until death rather than getting married. But for people of our social status, love aside, marriage is sometimes the biggest partnership. Lian Yizhou couldn't escape it even if he wanted to. So when he unexpectedly discovered I hadn't lost my memory, we reached an agreement pretend to be engaged while each living our own lives. Seeing my reaction, Lien Ijo found it curious and gave me a meaningful look. Oh, 7 years of relationship, and you really don't want to go back? I gave a bitter smile. A one-sided emotional delusion isn't a relationship. This relationship was never equal from the beginning. In Chin Tion's eyes, accepting my confession or being bed partners were all acts of charity toward me. Going back would only be asking for humiliation. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. People have no worries once they learn to let themselves go. I raised my hand to rub my arms but unexpectedly touched the soft fabric of a suit jacket. I'd forgotten Chin Tion's jacket was still with me. After thinking for a moment, I took off the jacket and tossed it to Lien Ijo. Help me return this to him. I'll wait for you at the parking lot. Let's go home. Lien Ijo pouted but didn't say anything, turned around, opened the door, and left to return the jacket. I stayed a while longer enjoying the breeze, then left as well, planning to cross the corridor and take the elevator directly to the underground parking lot. But as soon as I turned the corner, I saw Chin Tion leaning against the wall, looking down at his phone, his face grim. I nodded at him politely. Mr. Chin. I wouldn't be presumptuous enough to think he was waiting for me. I just wanted to leave quickly. But as we brushed past each other, I smelled the alcohol on his breath and simultaneously, he grabbed my wrist. I looked at Chin Tion in surprise, my peripheral vision accidentally catching his phone screen. Quite conspicuously, there was my photo on it. It looked like a medical record. He had investigated, as expected. Does Mr. Chin need something else? Chin Tion stared at me. I came to get my jacket. What bad timing. I just asked Ijo to return it to you. You must have missed each other. No, I saw him leave. Me? I couldn't understand this logic. Then you. The jacket was an excuse. I wanted to confirm something. What thing? I was a bit nervous. Could he have found out something? My body suddenly lost balance as Chin Tion pushed me into the nearest private room. In the dim space without lights, he pinned me against the door. You just said that even if I once did something terrible, it wouldn't matter because you've forgotten everything, right? Ah yes. Then, what if it was like this? His lips, carrying the scent of alcohol, suddenly seized my breath as Chin Tion pressed me firmly against the door for a deep kiss. His long, pale fingers traced along the line of my dress on my back and slipped in. I was terrified, not understanding what madness had come over Chin Tion this time. His warm palm rested on my waist, making that patch of skin feel like it was burning. I hurriedly made muffled sounds of refusal, struggling desperately, pushing against Chin Tion's shoulders. The kiss that once made my knees weak had now become a knife scraping at my sense of shame. I was nominally engaged. Had he not considered what would happen if someone saw us? How could I face anyone after that? Chin Tion noticed my resistance and lack of response. After a slight hesitation, he released his grip on me. But he still held me, his voice hoarse, carrying a hint of unwillingness. His scrutinizing gaze seemed to be trying to see through my lies. We've done so many terrible things together and you just forget them all. And specifically, only forget me. How convenient is that, Ruan Ruan. #4. In an instant, I understood the reason for Chin Tion's unusual behavior. He didn't believe I had amnesia. Coincidentally enough, I pretended to have amnesia because I felt humiliated, too ashamed to tell my parents that my boyfriend of 7 years, whom I never went public with, was actually a scumbag who looked down on me. So I simply pretended my memory stopped before we started dating. By extension, it meant I remembered everyone except Chin Tion. Based on Mr. Chin's actions just now, I would be justified in calling the police. I glared at him, seizing the opportunity to push Chin Tion away forcefully. My face clearly showed I was offended, my voice displeased. Mr. Chin just admitted that we weren't in a romantic relationship. So those terrible things you mentioned refer to being bed partners. My tone carried unfamiliarity and accusation, my gaze turning sharp. As a daughter of the Jeong family, that I would lower myself to do such things without any commitment, does that sound normal? Unless Mr. Chin's charm is that irresistible. As I spoke, I looked Chin Tion up and down, then tilted my head. You're quite average. So I must have been tricked or played, right? Wasn't I played indeed? First time learning that for some people, even the position of a casual fling had to be earned through confession and pursuit. Chin Tion's face suddenly darkened, staring at me with anger, somewhat through gritted teeth. Jeong. Ruan. Okay, I made a compromising and helpless expression, let's not dwell on the cause. Let's just say I made a poor judgment before. As a mere bed partner, Mr. Chin, what position or identity do you have to question me? To force me? Chin Tian used good for fun to redefine me from girlfriend to bed partner. Now I'm returning those words to him. His fist clenched, veins visible on the back of his hand. Chin Tian closed his eyes, took several deep breaths, suppressing his anger. When he opened his eyes again, his voice had softened. Ruan, stop being upset. I didn't know you wanted to be a girlfriend before. I've rejected the fiancé my family arranged. If you want to be my girlfriend, you can be. This past month, I've missed you. Perhaps I was too harsh that night. Actually, I do care about you. So stop being upset and come back. Finally, an apology of sorts came, but rather than heartache, I felt more inclined to laugh coldly. Chin Tian still didn't understand, still looking down from his high position. The core issue wasn't about the title of girlfriend. It was that he looked down on me from his heart, treating his love for me as charity. What use is an unequal relationship to me? Mr. Chin, I took a deep breath, staring at him quietly, my tone very helpless. I've said it already, I truly don't remember things from before. But I think I understand our relationship now, and it doesn't sound like a positive or good one. Now that I have a fiancé, finding a bed partner would be a moral issue, and besides, as a bed partner, you've. I shrugged as I spoke, looking over Chin Tian once more. You don't seem like much of a loss. Chin Tian's teeth seemed to clench tighter, his dark eyes fixed on me. Not a loss. What else? I put on a matter-of-fact expression. To me now, you're just a stranger. You're not my type, so I have no interest in being your girlfriend. That's enough payback. Saying more might get me in trouble. I stepped back, my fingers gripping the doorknob, ready to turn and flee. Looking up at Chin Tian, Mr. Chin, I hope this is the last time we get entangled. When we meet again in the future, it's better if we remain strangers. After saying this, I turned around, opened the door, and walked out of the room as smoothly as possible without appearing too hurried. Chin Tian didn't seem to follow. I breathed a slight sigh of relief. The calmness on my face instantly dropped, and the pain I had suppressed for so long came surging back. 7 years, and in the end, it all fell apart. How could it not hurt? The door closed behind me. Chin Tian, with his grim face, had a dark storm brewing in his eyes. Then he looked down and answered his phone that had been vibrating the entire time. What's wrong, Chin Tian? Haven't found your little rabbit yet. My friend clearly said he saw her. I found her, Chin Tian said in a deep voice. Half of her. Ha, half. She has amnesia. She's forgotten me. #5. By the time I composed myself and returned to the car, Lienijo had been waiting for a while. He stared at my face for a long time, then tilted his head with a smile. Your lipstick is smeared. Things got intense, huh? Me? Say that again and I'll tear your mouth off. After speaking, I quickly grabbed some tissues and wiped my mouth. I wiped hard, almost wanting to remove the skin where Chin Tian had left his mark. Lienijo stared at me, his fingers unconsciously caressing the steering wheel, his eyes very deep. He was very handsome. Unlike Chin Tian's cold appearance, his was more gentle, and with his exceptionally good skin, he was particularly eye-catching. Especially his eyes. The depth and darkness in them were like a small whirlpool, hiding emotions I couldn't quite understand. What's your game, Miss Jiang? I shrugged. No game. I refused to go back to an ex. Today, I got to vent my frustrations by pretending to have amnesia. It felt good. From now on, when we see each other, we'll just be strangers. That's for the best. By a twist of fate, the lie I told because I felt humiliated turned out to be the perfect way to end things completely with Chin Tian. The cycle of cause and effect can be quite amazing sometimes. After hearing me speak, Lienijo's serious expression instantly transformed back to his usual carefree demeanor. He started the car, making a Superman takeoff gesture. With his brown tousled hair, he looked completely silly. Fine, if he dares to steal what's mine again, I'll take him down. Me? Maybe this marriage didn't necessarily have to be a partnership. My phone vibrated in my pocket. When I unlocked it, surprisingly, it was from Chin Tian. My phone was new after the car accident, so all chat histories were gone. Naturally, Chin Tian's chat was also blank. Before, it had mostly been me initiating conversations with him selectively responding. But now, surprisingly, he had sent the first message. Cutie, your things at my place, come pick them up when you're free. I had packed in a hurry that day and didn't take everything. It seems Chin Tian was truly annoyed by me and found my belongings irritating. They're quite expensive, so I should get them back. Ruan, okay, this Saturday at 9 a.m. Just leave the door unlocked. Ruan, please send me the address. I had to maintain the details. How could a person with amnesia possibly know his home address? I thought the conversation would end there. But after a while, Chin Tian sent another message. Cutie, you used to love me very much. An abrupt statement, but I understood what he meant. He was answering my earlier question, as a daughter of the Jiang family, that I would lower myself to do such things without any commitment. Does that sound normal? My heart felt almost torn apart. I even felt a bit sorry for my past self. How humble must I have been for Chin Tian to so shamelessly and self-righteously say such a thing. Ruan, yet despite loving you so much, I couldn't even get the title of girlfriend. Ruan, no wonder I forgot you. The screen kept showing the other party is typing, but no message came through. I laughed coldly and locked my phone, no longer responding. My right hand unconsciously gripped my dress tightly, but I didn't expect that at 3 in the morning, I would receive a reply. Cutie, but it's good that you forgot. It's better this way. We can get to know each other again, start over. What a psycho. I decided not to respond. I took a slight breath, suppressed the remaining bitterness in my heart, and my gaze turned cold. After that day, Chin Tian never appeared in my world again. I didn't feel much about it because I was too busy. My wedding with Lien Yizhou was scheduled for 3 weeks later. It was extremely rushed. So these days, Lien Yizhou had practically been camping out at my pottery studio, frowning over a pile of wedding procedures. I had wanted to help him, but before my memory loss, I had accepted a small commission that needed to be delivered soon. The car accident had already delayed me, so now I had to rush to finish the work. Chin Tian's WeChat message came in on Saturday morning. I was coloring a pottery jar and my hands were occupied, so I asked Lien Yizhou to check it for me. Unexpectedly, after reading it, Lien Yizhou started reading it out loud in a mocking tone. You sent a professional organizer to my home. I don't allow strangers in my house. Come yourself. After reading, he started teasing me, shaking his head. Miss Jiang is so important that he needs you to come personally to open the door. My hand paused slightly and I bit my back teeth. I looked up and glared at Lien Yizhou, who was wearing gray sportswear that made him look particularly young. Do you want to die? Lien Yizhou pouted, looking completely punchable. He wants to see you. Aren't you going to reply? I hissed and threw the paintbrush aside. Just as I was about to speak, my eyes caught sight of the coffee table in front of him. My eyes lit up and I no longer cared about responding. I lunged forward, grabbed the spoon from the watermelon bowl, and while Lien Yizhou was off guard, shoveled a large mouthful of watermelon into my mouth. Lien Yizhou immediately frowned and glared at me, eating cold food so hastily. Are you trying to kill yourself? It's not like you're the one getting your period, why are you so controlling? I pouted at him. Young Master Lien, why aren't you busy with your painting? Why are you hanging around my pottery workshop all day? My family built their fortune on ceramics, with the company now managed by my parents and uncles. This small pottery workshop was given to me by my father for practice. The work wasn't demanding, quite leisurely. Lien Yizhou's family ran a chain of daily chemical products. By all accounts, he should be busy. But with older brothers and sisters above him, inheriting the family business wouldn't fall to him. His daily tasks were simply to exist and spend money. TSK, can't you see how busy I am? Lien Yizhou frowned, moving the watermelon bowl away while criticizing me. Our wedding preparations, if I don't handle them, will you? I smacked my lips, unconcerned. It's just a formality. Can't the wedding planning company handle everything? Lien Yizhou's footsteps suddenly stopped. His back revealed an inexplicable loneliness. Just when I thought he was gathering strength to turn around and hit me, I heard him say, a wedding isn't a trivial matter. Even if it's just a formality, you deserve the best. ##6. My heart suddenly trembled, the feeling of being cherished instantly made my nose tingle. This world holds too much malice toward women. I followed Chin Tian for 7 years. If I were to tell people about our breakup, someone would always give a meaningful, subtle expression. 7 years, you say. So, if Lien Yizhou didn't also need a wife, with my feelings of inferiority and self-abandonment, I wouldn't have planned to get married. Even now that we've decided to get married, I haven't harbored any illusions. But I didn't expect that Lien Yizhou, who's a year younger than me, would actually sensitively notice this point. My eyes grew a bit wet. I turned my face away and sniffled, then pretended to be relaxed with an exaggerated, well, you're right. Come on. Let's choose together. When the WeChat call rang, I was grabbing Lien Yizhou's hoodie, trying to make him agree to choose white wedding invitations. When I heard the ringtone, I didn't think and just answered. Hello, who is this? I looked up to see Lien Yizhou hiding my white invitation samples in the trash can. I was so angry that I shouted directly, Lien Yizhou, put that down. We're choosing these invitations. No changes. There was an awkward silence on the other end of the call. Only after I finished yelling at Lien Yizhou did I realize, I looked at the screen and froze, my heart instinctively aching. But it was just a momentary pain. Chin Tian. I deliberately pretended not to recognize the number. Hello. Is anyone there? I'm hanging up if there's no response. It's me. Mr. Chin. May I ask what's the matter? Upon hearing it was Chin Tian, Lien Yizhou, who had been leaning on the table choosing invitations, suddenly straightened up. With his thick eyebrows and big eyes staring at me, he looked like an alert husky. I couldn't help but curve my lips. On the other end, Chin Tian paused, his cold voice vaguely carrying a hint of grievance. You didn't reply to my message. Of course I didn't reply. I never planned to. I was choosing wedding invitations with Yizhou, so I didn't pay attention to other minor matters. There was another silence on the other end, with a faint sound of inhalation. When he spoke again, Chin Tian's voice remained cold. I've sent away the organizer. Come get your things yourself. Oh, is that so? I know Mr. Chin lives in Jianguan Villa area. You should have a housekeeper. Please trouble the housekeeper to pack up and just throw everything away. Those things might be expensive but they weren't essential. Chin Tian's coldness seemed to crack. Jiangruan, I hired a housekeeper, she has no obligation to pack your things. Come get them yourself. Then Mr. Chin, please give me your housekeeper's contact information. I'll pay her so she won't be a stranger and it solves the problem. Chin Tian's end suddenly went quiet. I looked at the phone in confusion, it hadn't disconnected yet. Mr. Chin. Chin Tian's cold, hard voice came through, I'll deliver them to you. Then he hung up the call. I held my phone, genuinely helpless. What? Did he really realize from my words how hurtful his good for fun comment was to me? Where was this consideration before? He's not really planning to start over now that I have amnesia, is he? I'm about to get married. Miss Jiang, Lien Yizhou suddenly came over, rolled a white invitation into a tube, held it to my mouth, and asked mischievously, how does it feel to pretend to have amnesia and toy with your ex's feelings? Come here, I'll tell you quietly about how it feels. I smiled and beckoned to Lien Yizhou. When he leaned in, I suddenly wrapped my arm around his pale, slender neck in a chokehold. You little dog, getting so bold, daring to roll up my invitation samples. Did you think I didn't see that? Lien Yizhou's face turned red as I gripped him, his distinct knuckled hands prying at my arm. Your Majesty. Your Majesty, spare me. Too late. In the midst of our struggle, we tumbled into a heap on the sofa. Taking advantage of his longer limbs and superior strength, Lien Yizhou seized the opportunity and pinned me down on the sofa with a quick move. Our eyes met, our noses touched, even our breaths intertwined. We both froze. The atmosphere began to shift. Lien Yizhou's Adam's apple bobbed up and down, his eyes darkening as his thin lips gradually approached mine. Ding! The wind chime at the door rang. Lien Yizhou and I both startled, hurriedly sitting up and turning our heads to look. There stood Chin Tian in casual attire, holding a suitcase at the doorway. His expression was inscrutable as he looked at the two of us tangled together. Mr. Chin, you arrived so quickly. It wasn't just quick. It was more like he'd been waiting outside the door all along. I felt a bit guilty, worried he might have heard Lien Yizhou's earlier interview question. I was in the area, he said. His gaze shifted to my arm around Lien Yizhou's neck. Chin Tian's eyes darkened. Am I interrupting something? My face instantly turned red. Just as I was about to stand up, Lien Yizhou suddenly tightened his arm around me, looking at Chin Tian with a half smile. Yes, you're interrupting. We were just about to get to the age-restricted part. Perhaps Mr. Chin would like to step outside. #7. Chin Tian's eyebrow twitched slightly as he looked at me. Is that so? Me? Is this a topic that should be discussed so openly? Chin Tian narrowed his eyes, habitually giving Lien Yizhou an intimidating glance. Lien Yizhou neither dodged nor avoided, returning the look in kind. Watching the two silently face off, I felt oddly uncomfortable. It was Chin Tian who had inconsiderately disturbed my life, and it was also Chin Tian who inexplicably kept entangling himself with me. What right did he have to be dissatisfied with Lien Yizhou? I stood between the two of them and nodded at Lien Yizhou. Don't just sit there. Clean up these wedding invitations. They're a mess and embarrassing. Lien Yizhou immediately looked like a triumphant dog, giving Chin Tian a proud pout. Okay. Me. Maybe I should throw away this fiancé. I pressed my lips together and turned back to look at the gloomy-faced Chin Tian. Mr. Chin, thank you for bringing my things. If there's nothing else, I'm quite busy here, so I won't be entertaining guests. The luggage was just an excuse. Anyone with eyes could see that Chin Tian wanted to see me. It was probably an excuse to talk alone, to reconcile and win me back. But I didn't want to give him that opportunity, that chance. I wasn't by Chin Tion's side for 7 days but 7 years. 7 years of dedication didn't even earn me the title of girlfriend. Even that night when we had that hysterical argument, when I broke up with him and left in the pouring rain, he didn't feel he had hurt me. He thought I was just being dramatic. Now that I've left, lost my memory, stopped loving him, after just 2 brief WeChat messages, he realizes his mistake and is willing to give me everything. This is even more insulting to my 7 years than his "good for fun" comment. Oh right. I quickly turned around, picked up the white invitation that Lianijo had rolled into a tube, carefully wrote the address, time, and names, and handed it to Chin Tion. Even I was surprised by my own composure. It seemed that now when I thought of Chin Tion, my heart no longer ached like before. The invitation style hasn't been finalized yet. It's just a sample. Please don't mind, Mr. Chin. We welcome Mr. Chin's attendance. The invitation hung in the air as Chin Tion hesitated to take it. He just silently gazed at me, his pupils black as ink. The longer he looked, the more he resembled an abandoned puppy. In the end, Chin Tion didn't take the invitation. After giving me one last deep look, he turned and left. I let out a sigh of relief. Lianijo promptly came over, looking glum. Now I hate white invitations even more. I laughed. Fine, let's go with red then. Seeing me agree, Lianijo was startled that easily. Why not? I tilted my head. By the way, weren't you enthusiastically looking forward to watching him try to win me back? Why don't you want to see it now? Lianijo suddenly looked like someone had stepped on his tail. He raised his chin, his expression both proud and awkward. That's different. I was just testing your attitude at the time. Arg. Anyway, stop asking. It's just different. I dragged out my voice with a long oh. That single syllable was enough to make Lianijo's face turn bright red. TSK, how had I never noticed how cute he was before? After that day, Chin Tion truly never appeared again. I rushed to finish my commission while chaotically preparing for the wedding with Lianijo. Being so busy, I actually never thought about Chin Tion again. The wedding date approached day by day. With just 1 week left, the bridal shop finally called to say the wedding dress alterations were complete. Lianijo was still at the hotel checking the venue and hadn't returned yet. I didn't bother waiting for him and drove directly to the bridal shop myself. The previous wedding dress hadn't fit quite right, but after the alterations, it was much more flattering. Standing in front of the mirror in the shop, I looked at myself in the white veil. Under the lights, I appeared particularly radiant and pure. For some reason, my eyes began to sting. Many thoughts flashed through my mind: the disappointment after 7 years of waiting, the relief in that moment of the car accident, the pain of staying composed during the day but secretly crying at night after waking up, the touching feeling of being unexpectedly cherished by Lianijo, and the slightly reddened eyes he had when we came to choose the wedding dress that day. Some answers I hadn't dared to consider deeply were now emerging. Suddenly, Chin Tion's face appeared in the mirror. I was startled and quickly turned my head. Only then did I realize that all the staff in the large hall had vanished. Chin Tion, you. #8. Our eyes met and I was extremely surprised because Chin Tion looked unwell. Although he wasn't unshaven or disheveled, his entire demeanor exuded an indescribable exhaustion. Jiangruan. Chin Tion stood before me, looking down intently at my face, his gaze passionate. His voice was solemn and deep, as if he had compromised on something. I've tried, but I can't do it. I can't just watch you leave me like this. These days I've tried to let go, but no matter how many friends I meet with, how much work I fill my time with, as soon as my life slows down, I find myself thinking about you obsessively. Just the thought that you no longer love me, that you're going to marry someone else, makes me want to kill Lianijo and take you back. Chin Tion spoke with genuine emotion, but I only felt helpless and weary. Because I couldn't respond, and I didn't want to respond. I didn't even want to see this person, not even once. So I didn't answer, I just turned to leave. But the wedding dress was too heavy. I had barely turned when my arm was firmly grabbed and pulled back. Chin Tion urgently declared to me, as if these words would expire if spoken too late. You were right that day. I was terribly wrong. I enjoyed your love, yet arrogantly looked down on you and hurt you. When I realized this, I was almost paralyzed with regret, because I knew clearly that I was hopelessly wrong, that there was almost no chance for us. But call me despicable if you will, I also felt joy at the same time. Thank heavens for that rainstorm that made you lose your memory. It gave me hope for a clean slate, a fresh start. Chin Tion took a few breaths, then pulled out a red velvet ring box from his pocket. He solemnly got down on one knee. Jiangruan, you once proposed to me, asked me to marry you. I made the wrong choice then, so now, I admit my mistake. If I say now that I'll marry you, will you come with me? Without a moment's hesitation, I shook my head. No. Even if I regained my memory, I wouldn't. Chin Tian, as you said yourself, we don't seem to have a beautiful past to remember. But likewise, we don't have a future to share either. Going our separate ways is the best choice for us. I meant these words sincerely. After speaking, I looked earnestly at Chin Tian, only to find that some certainty in his eyes seemed to be gradually collapsing. Then overwhelming panic surged forth. Then, do you love Lien Yizhou? Even if you remember him, so what? You also have no past to remember with him. Since both marriages would be without past memories, my starting point is the same as Lien Yizhou's. Why can't it be me? It's not the same. I couldn't help but think of Lien Yizhou's animated gestures, and my lips involuntarily curved upward. The past doesn't matter. My future will eventually be filled with Lien Yizhou. And I'm perfectly willing. Perfectly willing. Chin Tian repeated these words, suddenly letting out a cold laugh. His eyes filled with a shadowy darkness that sent chills down my spine. How nice to be perfectly willing. Jiangruan, a person who has experienced despair, will never give up even the slightest hope. This day's rupture was just like the day I broke up with Chin Tian. But Chin Tian's reaction was far more frightening than mine. After throwing out that sentence, he turned and left, but my heart refused to settle. I felt uneasy. What exactly is he planning to do? The day before the wedding, I was still worried when talking on the phone with Lien Yizhou. Lien Yizhou's voice remained gentle but carried a reassuring firmness. Whatever he's planning, the Lien family isn't to be trifled with. But it's a good reminder from now on, you need to tell me wherever you go. Don't wander off alone. My concerns were washed away, and I laughed. Oh, weren't we having a marriage of convenience? Now you're trying to control me. A marriage of convenience is still a marriage. I'll be your lawful husband. Hearing the undisguisable joy in Lien Yizhou's tone, I hesitated, my expression falling. Lien Yizhou, do you really not mind those 7 years of my past? Lien Yizhou on the other end of the call paused, his playful tone becoming unusually serious. Jiangruan, the moon's reflection in muddy water doesn't tarnish the moon's purity. People's self-worth comes from within, you know. After saying this, he returned to his usual teasing tone. I don't care. My queen Jiangruan is the most beautiful monkey on Flower Fruit Mountain. You better bring your A game to the wedding tomorrow. Me. Is it too late to back out now? #9. My worries, as it turned out, were justified. On the morning of the wedding, there was a small accident. The custom-made diamond rings arrived a day late, so Lien Yizhou had to take a detour to pick them up on his way to get me. It wasn't far, but we happened to hit rush hour traffic. I sat in the hotel's makeup room, swinging my feet, suppressing my worry, trying to reassure Lien Yizhou as casually as possible. Don't worry. There's enough time. For a wedding at 12, 3 hours was plenty. He could crawl here and still make it. All right, but don't wander off. Lien Yizhou anxiously reminded me several times before we finally hung up. The wedding dress was heavy, and even with the air conditioning on, I felt stuffy. I took advantage of being alone and quietly went to the corridor for some fresh air. The main corridor ran through the center of the hall, allowing me to see anyone coming through the main entrance. I needed to watch for Lien Yizhou's return. The corridor with its red carpet reminded me of the cocktail party that day, making me think of Chin Tian's strange behavior. As I walked, I grew increasingly uneasy and decided to turn back. But as I turned around, I ran into a pair of familiar, slightly reddened eyes. I was startled. Chin. A cloth with a pungent smell was suddenly pressed against my mouth. Caught off guard, I was held in his arms, unable to struggle. My consciousness grew weaker, my body losing strength. The last thing I saw was Chin Tian's obsessive gaze. When I awoke again, my hands were bound with wide fabric strips, and I was lying on a soft, large bed. The strips were wide and soft, not painful but impossible to break free from. Chin Tian sat by the bed, quietly watching me. Seeing me awake, he smiled gently. You're awake. Suppressing my panic, I struggled to sit up. Chin Tian, have you gone mad? Why did he keep doing such criminal things? Yes, I've gone mad. Chin Tian reached out to tidy my disheveled hair, his expression intensely focused, making my skin crawl. Since I can't win you back through conventional means, I'll use some unconventional ones. I kept shrinking back, trying to avoid his hand. But this action seemed to provoke Chin Tian even more. He suddenly lunged forward, grabbed me, and forcefully pulled me into his arms. Holding my shoulders, he stared at me, almost demonically. Then, I saw his eyes redden, tears falling down his cheeks, drop by drop. Ruan, don't blame me. I just have no other choice. I know my mistakes are unforgivable, but heaven gave me another chance, erasing all those damnable memories from before. I really don't want to give up this sliver of hope. Chin Tion's voice was already loaded with pain, collapsing, tearing apart. But I just watched coldly, listening, my heart completely undisturbed. I was worried about what would happen if Lien Ijo returned to the hotel and couldn't find me. Seeing me like this, Chin Tion stopped pushing. He wiped away the tears from his face, took a bottle of water from the table, opened it, and handed it to me. Have some water. I won't hurt you, but don't think about leaving. We'll start over. I'll wait until you fall in love with me again. Looking at the familiar green bottle, I paused. Perrier. The brand I often drank. I remembered asking Chin Tion to buy it for me once, but he bought the wrong one. I made a fuss about it and he just impatiently said, "Isn't all water the same?" So you see, when Chin Tion wants to care about me, he can buy the right brand. My mind made up, I slowly raised my head and looked at Chin Tion. I haven't forgotten. I never forgot. Chin Tion froze, his brows slightly furrowing. What did you say? I said, I never had amnesia. I never forgot your good for fun comment. I just felt too humiliated that my 7 years of sincerity were wasted, so I pretended to have amnesia to escape. Chin Tion, you lost your chance long ago. From the moment you said those words no, from the moment you arrogantly treated our relationship as charity toward me, you had no chance. ##10. The color drained from Chin Tion's face. He stood up in disbelief, staring at me intently. His eyes were red-rimmed, the veins on his forehead making his once handsome face look somewhat ferocious and terrifying. I witnessed his pain, how he could barely breathe, his chest heaving violently, his back bent from the agony. After a while, Chin Tion bitterly twisted his lips. His smile was uglier than crying. Ruan, you win. So you hated me to this extent. But what can I do? I can't bear to hurt you. Smiling, Chin Tion stepped backward, his eyes sorrowful and desperate. Like a surrendering prisoner facing the executioner's blade, only able to show a helpless smile. Ruan, what am I going to do with you? I'm begging you, alright. Take revenge on me, hate me, even toy with me for a lifetime if you want, just don't leave me please. No. I knew I shouldn't be confrontational at this moment, but like a death wish, I shook my head. Chin Tion, emotions were never meant to be played with. In 7 years you never cherished them once. Once missed, it's missed forever. I have no way to forget all the past hurt, to forget how you trampled my feelings into charity. Do you understand? No, Chin Tion smiled desolately, wiping tears with his palm, walking toward me step by step. I only know that you're with me now. Ruan, you've avoided me for too long. How can you be so cruel, not even giving me a chance to meet alone? Anyway, you won't forgive me no matter what, so we might as well stay in this mistake. At least you're here now. You still belong to me. As he spoke, Chin Tion began tearing at my wedding dress, desperate kisses falling on my neck. Goosebumps erupted all over my body. Even with my hands bound, limiting my struggles, I still pushed against him with all my might. Chin Tion, let me go. You're only hurting yourself, pushing us down a road of no return. Chin Tion, are you listening to me? He couldn't hear me. Chin Tion was like a madman, tearing open my wedding dress. The panic finally became unbearable. My voice began to tremble as I desperately shouted, Lien Ijo, where the hell are you? Bang! The door was suddenly kicked open, the door panel crashing against the wall with a tremendous noise. The last half of my you was choked back in fear, my whole body freezing. I stared blankly as Lien Ijo, looking exceptionally handsome in a black suit, rushed in. Chin Tion, as if he had anticipated this, didn't even turn around. He just looked at me sorrowfully and pressed a desperate kiss on my lips. You came so quickly. I thought I'd have a bit more stolen time. Lien Ijo had already charged over, grabbing Chin Tion and pulling him up. His fist smashed directly into Chin Tion's face. Stealing what's mine. I'll beat you to death. Lien Ijo was like an enraged lion, the ferocity on his face frightening even me. I hurriedly called out, stop. You'll kill him. At my shout, Lien Ijo seemed to regain his senses. Breathing heavily, he stopped, looked up at me, sighed in relief, and suddenly rushed forward to embrace me. As our bodies touched, I clearly felt that the fierce and ferocious Lien Ijo from moments ago was trembling violently. You scared me to death, Your Majesty. These brief words made my heart tremble. I had already picked out a place for a suicide pact on my way here. Thankfully I installed a tracker on your phone that day, or something terrible would have happened. Indeed, it would have been disastrous otherwise. My hands were still bound, so I could only poke his waist with my finger, sighing helplessly. Can you stop wailing and do something useful? You mean with him? Lien Ijo released me and looked down at Chin Tion lying on the ground with hollow eyes. Should I give him a few more kicks? Me? That's really not necessary. Just call the police. Already done. They'll be here soon. Let me take you downstairs first. Can you carry me on your back? I sniffled, looking up at him. My feet are numb. Lien Ijo's expression immediately crumbled. Cursing under his breath, he scooped me up in his arms. TSK, just keep enslaving me. I owe you. As my legs were moved, they tingled with pins and needles. Nestled in Lien Ijo's arms, I couldn't help but smile. Lien Ijo, you're so good to me. Don't tell me you actually like me. Yes, yes, yes. I'm crazy about you. Why am I so eager to serve you? We're not married yet, so there's still room for you to change your mind. You can back out now. That would be even more troublesome. I won't. Lien Ijo's arms were strong. Pressed against his chest, I could clearly hear his heartbeat. Emotions I had suppressed for so long flooded out, and I asked the question I had never dared to ask. So were you really just looking for someone to have a marriage of convenience with, or did you use that as an excuse because you only wanted to marry me? Lien Ijo stopped walking and glared at me fiercely. What do you think? I waited 7 years for you to break up. You owe me 70 years to make up for it. I smiled, curving my lips, and looked back one last time at Chin Tian, who was now sitting up, leaning against the wall, not planning to resist. Chin Tian was also looking at me, giving me a resigned smile. Goodbye, Ruan Ruan. Yes, goodbye, Chin Tian.